This episode is powered by NHL Sense Arena. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome back to another edition of Our Girls Play Hockey. It's Elias with Mike Bonelli and Hayley Scamurra. Just like saying your name like that, Hayley. It's too much. It was too much, but I made it work today. Guys, today's episode is going to be a good one. We're going to dive into something we've talked about before, but in a little bit of a different way. It's the best things we ever did away from the rink, right? So in previous episodes, we've talked a lot about how it's important to play other sports. It's important to have other hobbies and other likes. But, we realized we never really dove into, what do we do? What are the things that we do away from the rink when we were playing hockey or coaching hockey, winning gold medals in the Olympics, things like that. I mean, only one of us can say that, but that's fine. But that's what we're going to discuss today. Not quite a peek behind the curtain, but want to share, the life beyond the hockey life. We are all hockey obsessed. If you're listening to this show, there's a good chance you or someone who is hockey obsessed. There's no hotline for that. You're at the hotline. That's what this show is, right? But let's talk about a little bit. So, Hayley, I'm going to start with you. Let's just go back to the youth for all three of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's something or one thing you intentionally did outside of hockey that you believe made you better at hockey or better at that world?
Outside of sports, in general?
Sure.
Oh, I mean, that's a harder answer for me if I'm being honest. I think my family, we connected through sports. So honestly, it was usually just different sports. Like in the summer, we did a lot of tennis and soccer together. And then the fall, I kind of started with soccer and then would go into hockey later. But some of my best friends came from my soccer team. I still have day ones from those days that I'm still friends with today. And tennis, we still play to this day. That's a sport that we all share together. My dad's, what is he, 67, I think? Or no, is he 70 now? Oh my gosh. Anyway, but that's a sport we get to play together all the time. And so those are things that those are the memories I really cherished. Another thing we did, my mom had gotten a lake house.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of my favorite memories. So it was in Lake Canandaigua. For those that know, it's upstate New York area. And we would just spend weeks out of the summer, we had an inflatable trampoline thing that went in the lake. And then we had little pontoon boats. We'd bike out there. We would just play board games inside. And it was just some of the best times. And it had nothing to do with sports. And I
Right.
think those are some of my favorite memories for sure.
Well, that's a really good answer. Let me ask you this. So one of the things I remember when I was younger, it was very hard for me to turn the competitive engine off.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think when I was younger, actually, I didn't realize that was a skill of sorts, right? It was very primordial, if you will. Like I knew I was competitive, but I couldn't control it yet. And sometimes I know when I would, it's just gonna sound funny, but go to have fun, go to the beach, go do something else. There was always a small part of me that would question, maybe I should be training or maybe I should be doing this. But when I look back, I'm happy I did some of those, and I'll get more into my things in a minute. But the way you just lit up when you talked about that lake house, right?
Yeah.
You're listening to the episode, you can see it's a core memory. It's an important part of that upbringing. So how were you able to disassociate? Let me ask you this way: was it easy to disassociate, or did you kind of have to, did it take time, and then you were able to, I don't want to use the word relax, but
Yeah.
acclimate to not being on the ice or not being on the field, on the pitch?
It was an adjustment, I think. For our family, it was shortly after my parents got divorced. And so I think that was also a factor in all of it. And my dad was always very sports centric. We always had to be doing some sort of sport or some sort of athletic activity, a workout, whatever it might be. But then with my mom, I think it was important for her to just be you know what, we're going to have this time away from sports and just to have fun with your friends, nothing related to sports. And I do think that was really important for me. It was a lesson that I think I take to this day. I still have had to work on it throughout my whole career to allow myself to take breaks, that it's okay to rest. And it's okay to have fun outside of sports. And it's better for you, honestly. It helps kind of reset your mind, reset your body, all of that fun stuff. So I think for us, it was a big healing thing for me, I think, at that age, because I definitely was and it makes you miss it too, which I think is a good thing,
Right.
kind of going back into it. But it was really important for me to kind of see okay, there's other things to do outside of sports, and you can have fun with your friends and not have it be related to sports.
Yeah. Interesting. You use the word healing because I agree
Mhm.
with you. It's kind of what it feels like. And
Mhm.
this is why I want to do this episode, because I think someone who is not obsessed with a game what do you mean healing? Like, you know what I mean? But I kind of get it now, because if that's stuff
Mhm.
you get to do all the time, it takes on a different connotation in your head, right? Like for the athlete, the game calls to you all the time. And I if you either get that statement or you don't. All right. Because it doesn't matter how long I could get away from the game for a time. It will call to me at some point. You can call me crazy or you can call me obsessed, but that's the truth. The game calls to you. But it
Mhm.
is so important, as you said, Haley, you've got to disassociate for a time. And then I think you brought up another good point of, yeah, there's a period of time that it takes to kind of let go a little bit. And that I found that to be one of the hardest things to do as someone
Mhm.
who's kind of always going, always moving, just to say, hey, listen, man, like just take a second,
Mhm.
right? And it takes, sometimes it takes a day, or you know what, my favorite vacation, and Mike, I'm going to throw it to you because you get to go to Norway every year. But one of my favorite things that somebody told me about vacation is it takes about a week for you to get ready for vacation. Like once you're on
Yes.
vacation, just in time for you to go back. Right. That's why I always tell people, if you can take a 2-week vacation, it's going to take you 5 days to get into vacation mode. And I
Mhm.
don't think we spend enough time on that just in general, thinking, oh, I need a minute to come down from wherever I'm at. But Mike, I want to throw it to you too, because like I live vicariously through both of you. Mike, you get to go to Norway every year. You're fishing. You're eating exotic food. That's what I'll say. If you've anybody been to Norway, you know what I'm talking about. Mike, you can say that if you want. But you seem to really understand how to do that. And Mike, again,
Uh,
you've been in the game a little longer than me, right? Like I'm always looking for the wisdom from these situations too.
I mean, I would certainly echo, Haley in the sense of, this is what we tell our athletes, and this is I lived by this when I was an athlete, back in the day when I was training and competing and wanting to play at the college level and at the higher levels than that, right? But you're training, but you must get a chance to let your body reset, let your mind reset, and just do
Right.
different things outside of the game. It doesn't mean you got to go, bonbons and Taco Bell for 8 weeks. It just means,
Definitely not Taco Bell right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. It just means that that resetting part. And I think Haley, it's great that you had that, that push and pull. Unfortunately, your parents are divorced, but at the same time, you had voices of reason. Like my wife's the voice of reason. Like when we first started going to Norway, for me, it's not a vacation. It was work. I was going
Right.
to hockey schools and bringing
Yeah.
players over there and bring, 20 to 30 people over there. And then I'm like, wow, I'm just going to stay here for another 2 weeks. Like, why would I leave? I'm here already. And then, my wife's family's from there. So it's always been and my kids love going there. So to me, it's always been like a great reset because I get to, it's a different time zone. So you're not, you can actually, it's funny. I could work without anybody bothering me, and then I can resume work later on, because everybody else is sleeping. So it's one of those weird, opportunities for me because I could go over, work, do some hockey, meet some great hockey people. The worlds. I mean, I've been going there for 20 years, so like the worlds of where Europe and Scandinavia were to now. Like it used to be when we went over there. I mean, it literally when I first started going over there, it was the days of, oh my God, you have Levi jeans. Like, I mean, that's how crazy it was. I mean, it sounds like centuries ago, but now it's just the worlds are small. The whole world is smaller, right? So being in a different place and having a computer and getting online and working, it's I think today's athlete, can decompress quicker and still stay connected. I think today, I think you're able to, go to the beach house, go to the lake house, go away and not be completely disconnected. But at the same time, knowing that disconnecting is so important.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of kids and a lot of parents, right? And I'll be the same way. Like I'll watch the kids sitting around, and my younger guy is much better at it. But I'm like, well, are you doing anything today? Like, what are you doing today? Dad, it's summer. Like I'm literally going to stay in my bathing suit for 12 hours today. And I think it's and there's nothing wrong with that, because when I think back when I was 19 and 20 years old and 25, and I was that's what you did. You didn't. There's nobody saying, "Oh my God, you're on a training schedule. Why aren't you out there working out?" But at the same time, real competitive elite athletes that are really conscious of where they want to go, know that there is a time limit to that, and they do know there's a window that that's going to close quickly, and they got to enjoy it while they can, and then get back to work.
It's interesting. I wrote a few notes based on what you said, Mike. You brought up your wife. I think we got to bring up our spouses here, because one of the things I remember I hear a lot of spouses say, or I hear this from my friends, is like, we don't always have to do hockey. We don't always have to do sports. And I'll tell you what my wife said it differently to me one time, and it really changed how I look at things. She said, not that she's ever nagged. She's been, I gotta say this, both our wives, Mike and Hayley, you too, right? With Nick, like, very supportive of what we do, extremely supportive of what we do. But I remember one time she said, it's okay not to do hockey all the time. That's how she worded it. And until she said that, I never thought about it. Like, she's right. And you know what's funny? And I'm going to make this really real for all the parents listening, because Hayley, you're still in it, right? You're still very much in the game. When you're done playing, you can almost get sucked back in even more, because you got the kids playing, you got the teams you're coaching, and it's like, no, I got to do this. It's my job, right? And you got to remind yourself, hey, it's okay not to do this. It's so awesome to have the game surround you every single day. We are all so blessed that every day hockey is involved in our day. Like, I don't want to not sugarcoat that for the audience. Like, it's a blessing, but even we need breaks, right? And it's like, I had to start telling myself, hey man, it's okay. And I wrote down like an example here. I want to give those examples from my past. I used to live, when my wife was in the Air Force, we lived in a place called Destin, Florida, Fort Walton Beach, Florida. It's near Pensacola. Anybody from that region knows Destin. If you don't know Destin, it's like Florida's best kept secret. That's kind of what they call themselves. The beaches are snow white. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I was married down there. People think I'm standing in snow in my wedding pictures, right? And it's just some of the most beautiful beaches, type of water. When you stand in the water, you can see your feet clearly in the water, okay? And I remember I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s when I was there. And when I look back at that time now, it's not that I didn't enjoy my time there, but I remember I could not get to the beach and seem to calm down at the beach. I had days on pontoons because my mind was always trying to go someplace else. And what I wish I had done differently, and I'm blessed I could still go back there, right? Like, it's not like we can't do this, but I probably would have slowed down a little bit and enjoyed that. Now, what played into that? Well, I'm a hockey guy, and I'm in the Caribbean and I'm in the Gulf, and it's like, I'm a hockey guy down here. I got to do hockey. It would have been okay for me to go sit in the Gulf for a day and relax. And I think the more time, we were down there 3 years. By the third year, I think I figured out how to do that. But then we were gone, right? And actually, the next stop was England, which is the polar opposite of the Gulf. England has plenty of its own wonderful things too. But I wish I had known how to relax there at that time, right? And now I want to go back there to kind of go sit on the beach because as I get older, you kind of want to do that, right? So I think about that. The other thing you brought up, Mike, and this is important. Haley, I'm going to throw this back to you in a minute too, is you brought up your kids. Like, Dad, it's summer. It's such a paradox with kids because we ride them so hard during the school year. We've said this on episodes before. If you had to do full day of school, practice twice a week with games, right? Like, if we had to do that as adults, right? It's like, man, that's actually quite a lot. And then we get to the summer and we're kind of surprised they want to relax, right? And then like our brains will go, well, we got to work. You don't know how hard you have it. And like, I'm like, no, or how easy you have it. It's like, no, they don't. And that's the point. Because there's not one adult that I know that wouldn't want to go back to being 15, sitting on the couch and relaxing. You might have done things differently, right? But it's like, again, it's a paradox, right? So sometimes the kids can teach us, like, Dad, I just want to hang out by the pool today.
Well, it's just, and it's just a reminder too. Like I said, I think me and my wife, it was funny. Like we were together before we had kids, right? So Like she watched me work with thousands
of
athletes, like thousands of athletes, like the athletes that I pushed, I demanded, that I said, what do you mean you're taking the day off? Like there's absolutely no way if you take the day off, you will fail.
Yeah.
And you know, and this is the kind of, you know, this is the like, and so she watched these thousands of young men and women go through these training and had the same dreams, same expectations, all wanted it. And, you know, and she knows that 99% of them did not become hockey players. Like it made no relevant, you know, impact on their life from a professional point of view.
Yeah,
right.
No, it was good life.
Because we all know like Hayley's story, right? We all know the 1%ers. Like that's just the people that make it. But I mean, think like Hayley, we talked about this, right? That there's hundreds of young ladies and men that were at the same level as you at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. You're like, they didn't make it. So somebody's not going to make it, right? And I think that's where, like, my perspective has been helped by people outside the hockey obsessed group. You know, my wife loves hockey, obviously, but there's a point that says, well, is it really, really important? And we've had episodes. I think we've had multiple episodes actually. You know, talking about like, okay, you missed that weekend tournament. It's not going to change your life. Like it's not, you know, you missed that summer Chowder Cup. It's probably not going to, you know, it's not going to make the biggest impact on your career. But again, you know, it's like everything else, it's the balance. And if you were doing a different profession and it wasn't sport, you couldn't just, like, if you're a computer programmer, you couldn't just unplug for, you know, 4 months and come back, and because the whole world has been changed, right? So it's like, it's just knowing what your threshold is, and then knowing, you know, what your body tells you needs to be done, and your brain needs to be done. And I love Hayley's description about, like, I missed it. Like that's the thing I want the most for everybody.
The game,
like, I want them to be like, I missed this. Like, and then you see the person come back, like, holy crap! Like, did this person work out all summer? No, he didn't do anything all summer. He's just he or she just wants to go. Like they're so motivated to go. They're at another level of intensity.
You know, it's funny you bring that up, Mike. So I don't think I've told the audience this. So I was on a call yesterday with someone who had not seen me in several months. Okay. So for the audience, again, I didn't publicly talk about this. I had my left shoulder totally replaced last March, right? So it's a pretty major operation. And prior to that surgery, I was dealing with a lot of arthritis and a lot of different levels of pain. We'll just say it that way. And this is one of the only people I have talked to that I have not seen since before that surgery. And he came on the call, and the first thing he said to me was, "You look a lot different." And he couldn't figure it out. He said, "What is it?" Like, he's like, "You look just way different. Like, you've been working out. You've been." And I said, "No." I said, "I had my shoulder." He's like, he said, "You look younger. You look more awake." And he's probably right. Right. And it's like, you don't realize how much something is draining you. Again, this is a bit of an extreme example, but like, I didn't realize how much it was draining me till after it was fixed. Right. And it's like, yeah, I can sense now there's a lot going on, but no, I didn't hit the gym extra hard. That operation forced me for 2 weeks to do almost nothing. All right. And then I had to kind of rebuild myself. And what's cool is, Mike, you're talking about, and Hayley, about missing it. Well, now my brain's starting to discover all these things I can do again. And like, hey, I to the point of, I wasn't even thinking about doing these things when my shoulder was severely injured. Now it's like, hey, I can do this. I can do that. You know, playing hockey at a competitive level, not one of the things. Don't worry. Everybody, my surgeon or wife is listening. But yeah, like it forced me to take a break. And it reminds me of something that my father said to me, which is, if you go too far, your body will find a way to make you take a break. And that will either be, you will get sick, you will get injured, or you will physically pass out. All right. But your body will stop you and let you know when it's too much. It's, can you start to recognize the signs? And I think that what we find as we get older, and by older, I mean, like, you know, even teens into 20s into 30s, is you do kind of reach those breaking points, and you start to understand, okay, hey, now I'm reaching my breaking point. You start to recognize that. Okay. Again, I don't want to go off the rails with the episode. It just made me think about that. Hayley, going back to you, here's again, paradoxical question, right? Because like, we can't go back and change things. You've achieved the pinnacle of hockey, the gold medal. Looking back at your entire youth experience, do you think that there were days that you pushed yourself, you know, to go to the gym, to get on the ice? And I'm not saying that wasn't the right decision, but do you think you could have given a few of those days back to maybe take a day off? And there's no right or wrong answer here. The answer to that might be no, right? Because it's you pushing yourself through is where you got to where you're at, right? So like, I'm not saying could you have taken months off. I'm saying, do you think there were times where you had another thing on the table, you could have said, you know what, I can do that today? And what were the fears associated with that?
You know what? A funny story comes to mind. So I had a middle school dance, and I remember my dad really wanted me to practice on that day. And I'm like, is this necessary? Like, I really want to go to this dance. I went to the practice. My hands smelled so bad that when I did the, like, okay, middle school dances, everyone, hands are on the shoulder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's very, it's so silly. Like, it's so cute, right? But so I'm dancing with this boy, and I will never forget. My hands go on his shoulder. He turns and he's like, oh. And I was so embarrassed. And then I never danced with anyone the rest of the night. And, you know, when I look back on that, I'm like, Dad, I could have maybe not practiced that day. Like,
Right.
I was really excited about that dance. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of funny to look back on. And then, like, as I got older, I didn't care about those dances as much. And I did choose myself to go to hockey things.
Right.
But when you did mention that, that was my first story that came
Yeah.
to mind.
I hope he's listening.
I hope so too.
Yeah. I mean, I hope he knows, like, I danced with Hayley Scamurra in middle school. Right?
I understand that. Now I understand this.
Now I understand. It's a great story, Hayley, because it's like, it's those little moments that I think about too, of like, you know, it didn't sound like, you know, oh, maybe that was a choice, maybe it wasn't. You were getting asked to do it.
Yeah.
And again, I say it's paradoxical because if you don't make those choices, you don't know what happens. I think the point I'm trying to make is once in a while.
Yes.
But I also think it's as a parent, like, and again, I know we talk about this a lot, but I also think it's worth, you know, continuing to bring it up, right? Is that as a parent, you only are seeing like today,
right?
Like you only see like, oh my God, okay, well, and then your mind starts going, well, if you miss today, and then you don't go Saturday, now what happened Sunday, and now Monday comes around, and now you haven't worked out since Tuesday, like so it's all this, you know, I say this to kids all the time, like that in the summer when we're training, and the kids I work with, like I'm like, okay, well, what does your calendar look like? Because you're telling me if you're going to a tournament on Saturday, you're just like to your point about vacation, right? Like you're going to a tournament on Saturday, so you're not working out on Friday. You have a game on Sunday. You come home on Monday. You're not working out. Tuesday, you're kind of in a recovery day, and now you're working out Wednesday. So now by going to one tournament for 6 hours, you've blown a whole week of training.
That's a great point,
so where is your training going to pick up? Like where are you? So I think, you know, to Hayley's point, like your dad, you know, I mean, and I do this all the time. Like I'm thinking, like, okay, yes, you're going to go to this, but you're going to miss this, and then it's going to turn into this. And that's such a hard thing for parents, coaches, trainers. It's really difficult to really look at the bigger picture and then pick and choose, like, okay, what really is. And then if you are going to make the choice, right, Hayley, how are you going to make it up? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to enjoy this now. You're going to have your candy bar, but how do you make it up?
I'll tell you this. I'm actually going to give an actionable item for the audience here. And Hayley, I'm going to ask you to kind of reinforce this because I believe that you do this. I think this is so much about building great habits. All right. And I'll tell you right now, when I was training as a kid, I took 500 shots, forehand and backhand every day that I was not on the ice. Okay. Even some days when I was on the ice, I did this. Okay. And the reason I'm bringing that up, and I'm not suggesting you do this to your kids. I'm saying I built a habit of doing this. I needed to do it. My accuracy was not great when I was 12, 13 years old. I had to work on it. And I wanted to do it. But building that habit built something of if I did miss a day, I had to get back into the habit. All right. Like I never missed enough time where it was like, you know, I don't really feel like taking 500 shots. It was, no, I took off yesterday. I got to get back to it today. I have so many habits like that in my life. Like I'm a big, again, this is me. This does not have to be anybody else. Where I'm at in my life, I'm big on taking 10,000 steps a day. Some people take a lot more. Some people take a lot less, but that's my thing. And it's like, I've gotten the habit of walking at certain times of the day. And when I don't get a walk in, think about this, right? If it's raining outside, I'm not going to go out in the pouring rain. I will go out in the freezing cold, but I won't go out in the pouring rain. And I might not walk 10,000 steps, but the habit is there the next day. It's very easy to get back to it. What I've learned to do with where I'm at now is if it is raining, I don't have the fear anymore of, oh, if I don't do this, I'm going to stop doing it completely. And I think that's where most people lose their way of, oh, I do this thing and I stop for a couple of days and now I don't do it anymore. Well, it wasn't a habit then. All right. It was wishful thinking. So Hayley, at your level, habits are everything for training. Like you can't just stop training. I mean, it's your livelihood, right?
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear now in the off season. I'm sure you're training, but you're also traveling a ton. We just talked the other day. You were in New York and Vegas. You got to get back to Vegas at some point. Like you probably have these habits built up, correct?
Oh, for sure. And I think, you know, I've been doing a good job like finding the balance of all of that. So sometimes like when I'm on a trip, I'm like, if I try to work out today, I'm going to set myself back in the future.
Right.
And I'm able to kind of decipher the difference of like, hey, I can push through and have a workout today. Or you know what? If I work out today, I ain't working out the rest of this trip. Like, so that's kind of how it was for me. Cause like you know, when we got to the ESPYs, like it was the day of the ESPYs. I couldn't work out that day. And I'm like, you know what? That's okay. And then when we got to Vegas, again, it was like 2 PM, exhausted from the night before. I was like, okay, just let myself rest today. I'll see how I feel tomorrow morning. And then that morning came and I was like, I'm excited to work out. I can do it. Like, I'm good. And so I went in, did a workout that morning, felt great. And it set me up for the weekend. Like I just felt good for the whole weekend.
Do you think it's also because of the people you're around? I guarantee if you're in the hotel, there's another 8 athletes that are working out, right? I mean, it's not just you by yourself. And everybody else is like, oh, I got to the pool and had a margarita earlier.
And what's cool too is like we all just did it on our own. Like none of us really scheduled it together, so we all kind of went in at different times. I just couldn't sleep in, so I was there pretty early. But other girls kind of, or they went for a run, down the strip and stuff like that. So people just did whatever they needed to do for themselves, but no one was like, hey, anyone want to come work out at this time? It's like, no, we all just went in, did our routine and got out. And again, I think it set me up really well for the weekend. I was able to kind of just have fun the rest of that weekend. And then I got right back to it on that Monday. Because my big thing is I usually just train Monday through Friday. Sometimes I'll do something light on a Saturday, depending on how I'm feeling. But overall, I usually leave weekends to like be with family, hang out with friends, do something for me outside of sport. I think is super important. Just with our off season. Exactly. Yes. I'll do tennis with my dad. Like if I am in Buffalo, like we'll play tennis together where he just runs me basically because he's so good at hitting the ball. So like that would be my conditioning. But honestly, it's so much fun. Like I absolutely love it. So it's great.
Hayley, you said do something for you.
Yeah.
Can you I mean, what does that mean? Like what do you do for you?
For me, I mean, whether that's like, I mean, it could be as simple as me just hanging out, watching a show, like on my couch, like not doing anything. I think it can be, I love puzzling. That's another thing I like to do. So sit down with a nice puzzle, relax, maybe go out to eat, maybe go out to like a restaurant, go on a date, go, something like that. Go see family, I think is another big one. It's when more of us are free. So you have more free time to like kind of hang out and be together. Just different things like that, or just being out in nature, going on a hike. That's another good one too, because I feel like that's a way to like kind of stay active, but also enjoy your time in nature and not think of it as exercise. It's just more so letting your mind rest and the power of nature too. So just different things like that.
And you have a furry friend at home too, correct?
Yes. So we'll take Lexi on walks or go play with her outside. Her favorite thing is to play fetch. She just goes on sprints all the time.
I heard a funny
and I'm like,
quote.
I might need this level of work.
It's fun. I heard a funny quote about dogs that is true, right? Which is every dog that plays fetch thinks you invented that game for them.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And it's funny because we all know fetch, but the dog doesn't know that we all know fetch. The dog thinks that's your special game with them. I always thought that was a pretty interesting thought. But I'm going to use the word here too, that it disassociate. This allows you to disassociate with where the obsessed mind is all the time and do something else. And I'm like you. I like to do active things and get out and like I go for long walks. One of the things that I talk about. The audience knows, like, I'm an author, I'm a writer. It's one of my jobs. And I find so much creativity comes from those walks or, being active and just getting outside, or even just standing in the grass with my shoes off. Like I don't want to get into grounding with everybody about what that is, but like I find that to be very powerful, right? It doesn't just have to be in the shower where your good ideas come. But it's funny is on that point, the reason why you all of us have really great thoughts in the shower is because you're disassociated, right? Your senses are being activated with other things. You're not thinking about most of the time your life outside of the shower. That's why you have this creativity. But I really love to write at this point in my life. That I would not have said that when I was 17. Well, maybe I would have. Not as much as I did. I'm also avid into reading now, right? It's funny, Hayley, just thinking about this. When I was a teenager, if you asked me when I was 12, I probably would have told you I hate to read. I hate it. But all I needed was to find the right book. And what's funny is this was very random. Someone handed me a book called Magician, which has nothing to do with hockey, nothing. And for whatever reason, whatever age I was at, I was probably 14 years old. I fell in love with that series. It was a book by Raymond E. Feist. I'll throw him a shout out here. And it's like 20 books. And man, I just started reading like crazy. I just found the right book. Had nothing to do with hockey, which I find funny. Now, I do read a lot of hockey books now. All right. But I have a joy of reading. I think it's important to bring this up because I think that book allowed me to disassociate with the game at a time I didn't realize I even needed that. Right. Because it's so easy to say, well, I don't want to disassociate with the game. I don't want to get away. You got to do it. You got to do it. Or as we say, you got to miss the game sometimes to build into it. I wrote a couple other things down here. Quotes that I see everywhere. Hey, no days off. No days off. There's no days off. It depends how you look at it. Okay. Because part of me does agree with the sentiment of no days off. But you got to look at it as the days off are part of no days off. All right. I hope that makes sense. Like your mental fitness is part of the no days off. No days off is going to exhaust you if you do it literally. Right. I got another quote I want to go into here, but anybody have any thoughts on that? Like the no days off, like reality is you should take some days off, but that's part of the process. Like, I think we're sending the wrong message if we tell every kid, don't ever stop.
Yeah, I mean, just from my perspective, especially now, I think no days off is just meaning that you've planned the day off.
Yeah, I like that.
I think it's like, you have no days off, but you can't, listen, the NCAA had to have a rule about that, right? Like that you have to give a day off. Right. Like you can't just go, like, because all of us as coaches would go, we'll find a way to get him on, get him in the gym or get him in the classroom or get him on the ice. And I think that's where, the ability to say, well, I've scheduled in I'm not taking off, but this is a recovery day for me.
I like the way you're saying that.
Recovery day is whatever it is. It could be anything. It could be reading a book. It could be fishing. It could be playing golf. Maybe it's tennis because it's not like a sports centric, but it's just, it really is just scheduling it in. So there's no gaps.
Right.
Like, so there's no ambiguity about, well, what are you doing? I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know next Tuesday, like, that's why it's, that's why we can schedule these with Hayley, right? You can say, like, I know next Tuesday at 11 o'clock, I have space. Like I can put this into my schedule. And I think that's when you're an athlete, whether you're a high school athlete, when you're 18, 19, a college athlete, a pro athlete, that's why it's so crucial to have the plan, because that's your time. That's your time to make sure you aren't taking any days off, but you are taking time for recovery.
Yeah, have a plan. I think, Mike, is the key there to what you just said. And I agree with that 100% because, when I meet people or kids with no plan, that's when you're taking days off, right? And it's like
weeks off. I mean, when there's no plan, like I love listening to kids saying, "Hey, I'm going away." Great. What are you doing when you're away? Oh, I'm doing this. We're doing that. We're doing this. Oh, and by the way, I'm figuring out a way. I'm going to be hiking this mountain, and I'm centering on a goal. I have a goal to get up there in an hour and a half or whatever. Like, these are things that you can incorporate into your overall fitness plan.
Right.
That says to me as the coach and you as the athlete, I am committed to getting better. This is my plan to do it. It doesn't mean I have to be at the squat rack. I could be doing something else to accomplish the goal that you and I want for me.
I would say this. I don't know too many high performers that don't have a plan, right? They plan their rest, like you said, right? And again, look, that's not a shot at non-high performers, I guess. But like, if you want to be a high performer, that's the way I should have said it. You got to have a plan. You got to have a plan, right? And Hayley, for you, how much of that plan is organic versus like USA Hockey or your PWHL team saying, here's the plan?
I mean, off season, it's all on you.
Yeah.
So I think that's the time where you really have to be very intentional with your schedule, and figure it out. And especially with all the traveling I've been doing, it's been being extra intentional. And honestly, I kind of have to make the plan like the Sunday before.
Right.
It's hard for me. I can have a rough outline of it prior, but like so many things just kind of come up or things just happen, and you have to be okay to be adaptable with your plans.
Which is hard. That's hard to do.
It is. I've had to get really good at it.
Yeah.
It has been a difficult journey because, like, especially like if my plan ever got altered, like in years past or in summers past, I would be so stressed and so
Me
anxious
too.
about it. I would be a wreck. And then luckily, like with Nick, he's been so helpful with that journey because it's just like, you're not like, you're making this worse on yourself. Like with all this worry and all this anxiety, like you're not going to be able to train effectively if you're feeling this way about your training. Like you need to get into a better mindset about it. You have to be adaptable and like also realize like a slight switch in the schedule or like one day off is not gonna like you're not gonna lose everything.
Right.
You're not gonna all of a sudden be completely out of shape that you you're set back. Like you are stronger than you realize. You are more ready than you realize at all times.
I will say
Kelly,
there's an
Kelly,
under 40 and over 40 version of that. But that's fair. Go ahead, Mike.
Haley, Haley, I'm wondering, like, I know from the men's side and certainly from your winter season, I think that's why so many athletes struggle after their careers, right? Because during your career, everything's done for you. Like everything's measured and your agent says, oh, this is who you're working out with and this is your time. And I have a trainer and I have like all the people taking care of all this stuff. And I'm just following my schedule. Like, like, oh, breakfast is here. My nap is here. Dinner is here. The bus is here. Like all that kind of stuff's taken care of from a team perspective. And I think that's, I actually love that part of it. Like when I was coaching, like I love the monotony of it. I love I love the scheduling of it because it just made it
comfortable.
To your point, like all of a sudden, I think that's why teams are unsuccessful sometimes when they go to the Super Bowl, right? Because they get out of routines and all of a sudden they start doing stuff that they're not normally doing. And they're entertaining in a lot of ways that they didn't do.
There have been 30-minute shows about the 10 extra minute halftime about how that throws teams off. Like there's been documentaries on that extra 10 minutes is
right. It's the same thing for goaltenders, right? All of a sudden, there's a delay in the game. And now I'm a goaltender that was ready to go at 7. The game doesn't start until 15. And all of a sudden it changes your mindset. So I think there's definitely, and I think that's a great thing to think about as you're like the young athletes that are listening to this, as they go in, like Hayley's saying, like on Sunday, you're kind of laying out your schedule and laying out your plan and saying, okay, here's where my obstacles are. How am I going to get around them?
Have a plan.
How am I going to work around what's done?
Yeah, it's great stuff, guys. And like I say it too, that when habits and planning come together, it's usually a pretty good mix. What Hayley was saying about having to pivot when things go wrong, this is where probably a good thing my wife's not on the show. Like I'm still working on getting better at that because it's hard. It's hard when you have something planned, you want to do it, and then something changes. But the actionable item, what I tend to do in those situations, I have gotten a lot better at it, is I'll ask myself 2 questions. One is, what do I have control of in the situation? The answer is usually nothing, people, just so you know. Okay. But there's a piece in knowing like, okay, there's nothing I can do to make a change here. And I think about, okay, my effort, my diet, my mindset are the things I can control here. So I got to change my mindset here. And I also think about, am I being present? And I'm not going to go into a deep talk with this, but 99% of your problems exist in the past or the future. They're not really happening in the moment. Right. And when you think about when something diverts you, and being present, like you're upset about something you were going to do in the future, right? It hasn't happened. So I try and get a grip on that. I'm not saying you don't have a right to be frustrated, all right? But it's like you got to find a way past it and find an action. And usually you'll be fine. Usually. I'm not saying this is in every situation, okay? But yeah, I also love too, Hayley, one of the things you were talking about is the standard, right? That both the off-season and on-season standard amongst professional athletes of, no, you're going to keep yourself in shape. And that while you might have a buddy or someone you work out with or a team workout, it's the athlete does that on their own, right? And those standards are set when you're younger. And this is where I want to go with this. The standard, I wish I knew this when I was younger, is not limited to hockey. the standard is the standard, right? Like when you were a kid, while hockey might have been the primo sport, there was a standard with soccer. I'm sure there was a standard with other things that you were doing, right? And that also had to evolve, right? The standard of washing your hands before a middle school dance with Clorox bleach to get that smell out, is by the way, we've all been there, Hayley. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, no,
Right?
I know.
but like I'm sure that you as a young woman setting these standards evolved, and then you found yourself doing it and other things. This show is a great example, Hayley. Like you bring it, you have a standard for yourself of how you want to do this, how you want to prepare, and we do that, right? Like you could almost say that's borrowed from hockey, right? But your standards, when did you start setting them, and when did you feel like they started applying to more than just the game?
It's hard to say. I feel like I've always had them. I was always like that, even about school. Like I was very organized, always did my work on time, um, set aside time for studying because you kind of had to with sports and just your schedule. I think the time management of it all was something I learned, especially in high school, was a big one. I really had to make sure I got my stuff done during free period. Like most other kids got to goof off and just have fun with their friends. And I was like, nope, this is my actual free time that
Yeah.
is the only time I have to
Yeah.
do my homework in. And I would make sure I did stuff ahead of time. And I think
I
that's
wish
just
I was better
been,
at that.
yeah. And I don't know why I was like that, if I'm being honest. I just think it is something that's been ingrained in me since I was a kid. It was just like, my dad was always like, all right, we're exercising today. This is our time to do it. Like, let's focus. And like, there was always just that standard set. I felt like even at a
Right.
young age, like 5 years old, I was, we're playing tennis and we're working on our form and like, being intentional and stuff like that. And so it was with every sport that we did. It was like we were always trying to get better. It wasn't just, not that I didn't have fun, but like there was intention with it. And
Right.
I just feel like that carried through with school for me as well. And I loved school. I loved learning. And I think that's where my coachability part also comes in. Like I enjoy the learning aspect of things and challenging myself. And yeah, I've just always had that ingrained in me. And I think it comes from my parents for sure.
I'll say a couple things on that. One is I wish I was a little more astute in school the way you're describing. I was not like you for a long time, right? I didn't do bad in school necessarily, but I didn't have that organization you had. That I wish I had that. Number two is, your parents play a huge role in this. This is for all of us, right? Like your parents, your listening parents, right? We all play a massive role. And I know, we're all doing the best we can. If you're listening to the show, you're definitely doing the best you can. Not that we're the moral authority on parenting, but you're clearly looking for knowledge. Another thing I wish I knew as a kid, I tell my kids this now, because I hear every once in a while, like, school, and I tell them, there'll be a time in your life you're going to miss this and miss learning. And then miss learning, I said, yeah, you're going to miss learning because when you learn, it's kind of exciting for your brain. And I said, you'll look for things to learn when you're older, most likely. And I said, the people that are lifelong learners are usually the happiest people. One other thing you made me think about, Hayley. So on a recent episode, you had said, very well about that while you don't necessarily mind the role model kind of moniker, that's not your job. Your professional job is not role model. I thought you put that really well.
Yeah.
And when I always tell people, because you just gave some pretty great role model behavior. All right, you did, right? Like if the kids at home were wondering, like, what does it take? Well, Hayley models that behavior. The key word here is behavior, right? And I always tell kids, focus on the behavior. Right. And there's a lot of applications for this. Like if you want to be like Hayley Scamurra, look at her behavior. Look what she did in school. She doesn't have to teach you to do this. She's already done it. That's role model behavior. That success leaves clues. All right. You can ignore the clues as long as you want, but success leaves clues. And Hayley, and again, you're a very special athlete and a special person, but most professional athletes leave a trail of this is what I did. And I did take breaks and I did find ways to do this. Right. I have another quote. I teased this before. One of my favorite Philadelphia Eagles, sorry, Hayley, is Brian Dawkins. All right. Terrorized the league for years. He had this great quote that he was like shouting it in a motivational video. And it just never left me. And it goes, they say that if you love what you do, you're not going to work a day in your life. And he goes, and I don't buy that. He goes, if you love what you do, you're going to work hard every day. more than anybody else. And like, that's the truth. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But part of that hard work is what we're talking about on this episode, knowing when to slow down, knowing when to disassociate, knowing when to spend time with the dog, go on hikes, go to Norway, go fishing, go read books, go in the band, go do something else. We've already talked about ad nauseum the benefits of your kids having other sports and other events, right? I don't think we've talked enough about how to do that and how to help them disassociate. Parents come up to me all the time and YouTube, like, my kid's hockey obsessed. They love all they do is hockey. Every day, that's all they do is hockey. Guys, I'm not gonna lie to you, that's a little concerning to me if that's the truth. All right. It's a little concerning. Like, because my next question is like, do they do anything else? Do they play in other sports? Do they like music? Here's one. I'm going to throw it back. Like I joked before about over 40 and under 40. The truth is, over 40, Hayley, if you don't stay in habits, you are going to lose everything you've built. When you're younger, there's about a 10-year age gap between the three of us. And it's funny because like one of the things that shocks me about like 10-year-olds is like they won't play hockey for 3 months and they'll get on the ice and in 10 minutes they are back to where they were the year before. Like that's not going to happen at my age.
Yeah.
Right. So, but like use it or lose it. But my point is I still have to take breaks. Sometimes they're forced breaks, right? So forth and so on. But here's the thing I was thinking about the other day and how our own experiences don't necessarily designate them for our kids. I love music, big into music, right? And when I was a kid, I had a huge CD collection and I had to pick my CD every day. I always had a music player on me, right? Because iPhones didn't exist, right? You had a music player, cassette player when I was even younger. And I realized that unless your kid has a phone, my kids don't have phones, man, they don't really have access to music unless we're at home and they're playing it on the Alexa or the record player. And it made me think, like, man, have I given them, and I feel like I have, but did I give them access to music, right? There's a lot of things I wonder, do we give our kids access to? I've got a friend that says, does anybody read anymore? And I go, yeah, like a lot of people read, like a lot of people, right? He didn't love to read, which is fine. But it's like our perception kind of can create a reality. I think, and this is me, my opinion, part of my role as a parent is to help expose my kids to some of these other things outside the game. I'm hockey obsessed. I'm doing them a disservice if that's the only world that I show them, right? So I think that that's also important to think about. I'm going a little more psychological here, but to think about your experience versus their experience and the things that you like to do. And what's funny is when I'm doing, you got to catch yourself. Sometimes you can be doing things away from the game and they come in up to you and you go, no, get away. I'm doing my thing now. It's like, no, come look at what I'm doing. Come and see what I'm doing, right? Like my son and I like to build Legos together every once in a while. Great way to disassociate. There's no question of this. I'm just rambling now. But I want to talk about that. If you love what you do, you're actually going to work hard, but you got to plan, you got to build habits and things like that, right? So, Hayley, let me ask you this, right? If you could give every 10-year-old hockey player an assignment that doesn't involve skates and a stick, right? What would that be? Or maybe that's more advice than it is an actual thing. But like, what would you suggest?
I just think more kids need to just play outside together. I think so much of what people tend to do is like inside on video games or inside watching YouTube or little things like that. And I think it's like, where are the kids playing flag football outside or playing baseball outside or, manhunt, whatever those games are, right? Like, I just think being outside more, wall ball, like being outside more with your friends, I think is so important and be social, like have fun. Don't worry about what it's doing for you for your sport. Like not everything you do has to be a step to be better in your sport. I think it's all about having fun. You're a kid. Like go out and enjoy life, find other experiences, find other things that you enjoy doing. And again, in the whatever that'll help you become maybe a better hockey player or maybe a better
whatever.
Who knows? Whatever you do eventually want to be in life. And so, I just think that's critical.
Yeah, Mike, I wanted your thoughts on that too. Like what would, again, we're God bless you, Hayley, we're a little bit more down the line, right? Just in terms of I think that's great advice. I'm wondering, Mike, if you have anything too for that one. Just away from the stick and the puck and the ice, like what would we say to our kids?
Yeah, I mean, I love the. Listen, I love. Like, I've enjoyed watching even my guys, enjoy other things like outside of the sport of hockey. Thank God. I mean, it's like music is a big part of my guys' lives, and certainly other sports, and not even sport to be competitive, just other sports, like just whether learn how to go out and learn how to water ski or learn how to ride a geared bike. Like there are so many things that kids miss out on. And a lot of it's because of us. A lot of it's because of the parents. When I grew up, I was like where I live in the town I live in. I would be able to take literally like my bike and ride to my friend's house, which is across like 3 major roads, a couple of train tracks,
Yeah,
and a lake. And I'm
this is not Stand By Me the movie, correct?
I basically that was my life, right? I mean, I like that you would leave in the morning, and this is us. This is our society. Like this is what we've created. A lot of these inability to have like community play dates, like or that's like a term I even hate actually. Like we have to schedule the play. Like why don't the kids just go play? And but a lot of it's because of us. So all of us as parents know
they will if you let them.
Yeah, you will if you let them. But the problem is, like, even like it's almost like they put their toe outside the driveway and like, my Life 360 just told me, Life 360 just told me my kid just went outside the driveway. Like it's just this weird. It's it's just weird because you want your kids to have the freedom and you want kids to go to the park and just free play, and then at the same time they don't know how to free play. Like they all sit around the park going,
"What do we do now?" Mike, I'm reminded. My parenting journey. I remember the first time my daughter really kind of like left to go play out on the street with her friends. And I remember like the anxiety, the unexpected, by the way.
Behind the curtain.
Yeah. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Well, there's levels to this. Like the first level is like, I want you to be safe, right? That's every parent's just instinct of, okay, just be safe. Don't go too far. Don't go towards the highway, whatever. And then there was like another level of like, is this it? Is she leaving me? Is she going to find other people to hang out with and not want to hang out with me anymore? That was a dad thing that I had to deal with. All right. And then there's another level of, oh, she's actually like, they're out there playing. And like, luckily, luckily, like I've got neighbors who go outside and their kids just go out there and play. And you know what happens when other kids see other kids outside playing? They want to go play. Right. And Hayley, to your point, you'll laugh at this. So she and I, with her permission, like with her saying yes, we're practicing hockey outside the other day. She wanted to work on some things. And we were doing really great work. I was really enjoying the dad-daughter hockey time, right? Sounds familiar, right? And then one of her friends came over on a bike and goes, "Hey, can Alina play?" And I'm sitting there, my brain inside's going, "No, we're working on this thing that I'm working on." So, what I did, and then just kind of keeping to my word on standards, I said, "Hey, Alina, listen, just finish this set that we're working on right now, and then you can go play with your friend," right? It wasn't like weightlifting or anything. We're just working on something. I said, just do this thing, and then you can go. And she was happy. She did it, and she said, "Can I go play now?" I said, "Of course, you can go play." Right? Like how I just feel like I would have been wrong to be like, "No, we're working on this right now." Like, do not be a kid.
Well, I think the other problem is too is like that don't get too competitive. Like I can't even imagine what Hayley must have been like, right, with your dad. Like if the neighbor kids are playing, all of a sudden there's like a scoreboard up. Like, okay, who's gonna who's gonna get the most dodgeball hits here? But I was like that. That's like to me, like listen, like, it was the weirdest thing. Like I was even thinking about this in real time. We're in Norway and we're playing and we're doing Viking axe throwing and. You got, and this is like not a bar axe. This is like an axe, like double edged. You could kill somebody with these things. So we're playing.
Norway, come on.
We're axe throwing out in the hills of Norway, and I'm in my mind. I'm keeping score. Like there was no reason to keep score. Like there was no like I'm like okay, go ahead, Michael, you go. Now that's outside. That doesn't count, and it becomes so competitive. Like I'm like I'm just like this is the first time I've ever thrown.
Might hockey.
Yeah.
Number one question in might hockey is what? What's the score, coach? I know you know the score.
But it's hard not to like, and I think that's where like on it's hard. It's hard to forget like or hard to remember. Like let's just go out and like you can have fun. You can just go play something that doesn't need to result in anything. and you don't have to have any anxiety about it. Just go play, whether that's juggling or hacky sack or whatever you're gonna do. Just go do something that doesn't turn into a competition.
You're a competitive person. Like, I think that's okay too. Like that's one of the things I've had to
right, but not
realize,
the point where the kids walk away. Like, oh,
right. But my point is like look, I'm okay saying I'm a very competitive person, and like I'm competitive with almost everything that I do in my head. All right. But me calling it out like that also allows me to disassociate of like, you don't need to be competitive right now.
Yeah.
Right. And that, again, that's part of the skill set. But Mike, that's a great point. Like, like, why am I keeping score? Well, it's because you're competitive. Right. Because you don't have to let that ruin it.
I only keep scoring things I'm good at, but I think it's more like, like I don't like if Arthur wants to play chess and he's really good at chess, I'm like, I can't play chess. So I'm not, I just throw the chessboard, like we're not.
Right. No, that's good. By the way, almost at 600 episodes. No one's counting. I get the last question. Hayley, I'm going to start with you on this one, but this is actually one for the group. I'm a big believer in, I call them magic questions. Okay. These are questions that get you to really think outside the box. So this is not the question, but one of the best magic questions for the audience is when you're really in a tough spot, asking yourself, if I could wave a magic wand and change this, what would I change? Right. Sometimes just thinking that creates the thought process to get you out of the loop you're in to go beyond. So Hayley, this is an interesting one for you, but I do think it's a magic question, and it's one the audience should ask themselves too. You're nowhere done in your career, but you've hit a pinnacle of sorts with a gold medal and a Walter Cup in the same year. Again, not done, big, massive hockey accomplishment. You will always be remembered for that, whether you want to be or not. It's historical. So my question to you is, what do you hope people remember about you that has nothing to do with hockey?
I just hope that they just felt loved and supported by me, that I was a kind teammate, that just how I made them feel, I think, on a day-to-day basis. I think that's more important than any of the accolades. Like, I don't really care. Like, I'm very honored to have those, and I think it is incredibly cool and historical, and that's all amazing. But overall, like, what I would want my teammates or people in my life to remember me is that I was kind, that maybe I helped them grow in a sense, maybe become more of who they are. I just want to be remembered as like a kind person for sure.
It's a tremendous answer. I have a feeling when we go down the horn here, we're going to hear similar answers to that. But Mike, Mr. Hockey, what do you hope? Like, take the hockey out of it. What do you hope people remember about you?
Yeah, I honestly, I think about this all the time. Like, I hope that in my day-to-day life, that people view me as somebody that likes to help and be involved and be active and watch other people succeed. Like, I love being the steward of somebody else's success. And I think that, because that makes me feel good. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I was part of that. So I think it's just a matter of whether it's hockey or fly fishing or digging the right ditch in the yard. It's just a matter of, just being somebody that could be counted on and respected.
Yeah. Look, I think for me too, again, I said it might be similar. Like, I really would love for people to be like, he really loved his kids and he loved his wife and he loved his family. Like, he really loved those people. And, or from a people standpoint, he really loved helping players. He really loved building groups. The reason I'm bringing this up is I think most people, it's not an easy question to think about, but I think most people, when you strip away this part of your identity, and is part of who we are as hockey, it comes down to the other people, and it comes down to how we treat people, and again, how you make people feel. Hayley, is a great way of saying it, right? I think this is true for most people, and I don't think we as people spend enough time in that thought, because that thought can guide you. All right, now anyone who says, well, I hope I'm remembered for this massive $1 billion business that I created. I don't know how to say this like nicely. I'm going to kind of say it like I'm not against those businesses. It's like, okay, well, I don't know if people care, right? Because they're going to remember, like, well, you know what they'll say? Well, that guy treated me horribly, or that person treated me horribly. Yeah, they made this huge business, but they were horrible to me. That's not the way you want to be remembered. right? So I think it's important, and that's why I said it's a magic question. Strip away maybe the main part of your identity for a minute. That thought can help guide how you're going to plan and build habits and approach the next day. And I will implore the audience, kind of like my closing here. Careful. Let's quote Ferris Bueller. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around every once in a while, you could miss it. That is one of the most prolific quotes, not just in movie history, but in history. So many of us are living our days thinking about the next one, not living in this one, right? And if I think there's any takeaway from this episode is building great standards, building great habits, and finding ways to do this, live in the moment for today, whether it's sport or not, is really valuable. So I hope we've accomplished that today. Again, you got a little look behind the curtain with the three of us, right? Norway hikes, shoulder replacement, and other things. Mike, Hayley, any final thoughts before I close this completely?
No, well said. And I think it's like I said, it's always it's so funny about our show is that the show has allowed a lot of this other peripheral stuff to happen in my life, like to meet all these other people I would never normally meet, like on a day-to-day basis, and learn from all these people without feeling like I'm bothering them with their time. It's great to be able to sit down and have somebody talk about their life and what they do and how they conduct themselves every day. And, just like everything else, like stealing all those little nuggets of information and hopefully being able to help like my inner circle and my inner community.
That's really good. Hayley, any final thoughts from you?
No, I think we've said it all.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, Hayley, that you gave a fantastic answer to that question, but all hail your accolades and the gold medals. Those are pretty cool things to have in your reservoir. And for those of you listening, we'll get back to your regular scheduled hockey programming on the next edition of Our Girls Play Hockey. Hope you enjoyed this conversation today. Remember, if you have any thoughts, you want to share anything, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com, or use the link accompanying this episode in the description to send us a text. We will get back to you. We appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Take care. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.